This meeting is being live streamed. Got it. Are we live?
Setting up your meeting for YouTube Live.
This meeting is being live streamed. Got it. Are we live?
Setting up.
I have a little live symbol, but it's not coming through yet.
Okay, so I guess this is gonna have to work. The thing that's a little bit different. Let's see. Oh, thanks. Okay, so well, first off, welcome to Female Friday. This is number 5 with Bridget Lindsey Morris. And
hi.
what's up, Bridget?
Hello.
Okay, so we're super late because we're having massive technical difficulties. I've got like this great new computer and had to set up a new Zoom and everything with it too. We're on, but the only issue is the same link or whatever that you use to link your previously set up link for YouTube is not there. It's making me go directly through a new thing on YouTube.
So it's just if we go to your channel, saying the old link might not work. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, cool.
So I might have to figure that out for next time. But what I'll do is, Josh and Blanca, if you want to take things away and let's get a little bit of background on Bridget, I'll go ahead and take this link and I'll go blast it everywhere right now and let everybody know we're live. Okay.
Okay, awesome.
Okay,
cool. Go for it, Josh.
Yeah, okay, awesome. I'll start it out. Bridget, how are you doing today? Pretty good?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Doing great. No complaints.
Awesome. Thank you for being on the podcast with us while we're trying to get this thing to grow.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
No problem at all. No problem at all. You're one of those faces in California arm wrestling and starting to be everywhere around the U.S. We're seeing you pop up all over the place, but definitely one of those females that everybody, sees everywhere. So wanted to have you on and get to know a little bit about yourself. So first of all, where are you from originally? Where were you born?
I was born in Massachusetts, actually, but I grew up mostly in Florida. Parents moved there when I was young, so I have tons of family. I come from a big family, tons of aunts, uncles, cousins. They're all still in New England and Massachusetts, but I grew up in Florida.
Awesome. And then you came out to Cali. When did you come to California?
Oh, shoot, like 8 or 7, 8 years ago.
Okay.
Now, I actually went to school for like drama and performing arts and stuff. So had that bug, moved to LA, and my sister, she's actually an editor in LA, and she needed a new roommate. So how perfect is that? Moved in with my big sister, lived in LA, did that business for a little bit. But that's wasn't exactly for me, the Hollywood scene, but it was a great experience. I was young, and I think it's something that if I hadn't done, I would have always regretted it, but it was didn't end up being the right path for me.
It's not for everybody.
Yeah, but it was a great experience. Great to be young, move to LA, and take that big leap of driving across the country to go live somewhere totally new in a big city, and definitely something definitely become a part of me, but happy to leave that behind at the same time.
So you lived in both places for a while. What's your favorite? Florida, California.
What?
You've lived
Florida,
in both
California?
places for a while. Yeah.
That's really hard. I love Florida, and it's funny. I think a lot of people that grow up there, it becomes like, it's hard to always value and treasure. Like, you take for granted what you grew up with, right? And I think Florida is such a gem, and it's just beautiful and laid back lifestyle, which SoCal has that too. But I always have a special place in my heart, and I always loved it. Even when I was leaving it, there were things I always missed and knew I missed. I didn't leave it like good riddance, forget this place. Like, I still love Florida, but California is hard to top of any state. Like, you have everything in California. You have mountains, you have the ocean, you have desert, you have, you know, beautiful warm weather, but then also snow-capped mountains and forests. And I love hiking. I love, I live right by Joshua Tree National Park now, so I love, like, Florida's so flat. So, like, and growing up in that, like, mountains still never to lose their, like, fascination for me. And I love hiking. So California is really hard to beat in that area. So I guess I didn't really answer. I guess California does maybe win, but
it sounds to me like California.
Yeah.
West Coast.
I guess I chose to be here too, so I guess that says something too, not being in Florida anymore.
Right.
And when you have family somewhere, you're like, well, I can always visit. Like,
right. I'm sure you love the climate better here than there. The weather.
Yeah, I mean, it can get pretty brutal in the Mojave. It can get pretty hot. But the humidity is definitely a different kind of heat. I do definitely like dry heat more than humid heat.
Okay.
How about the most obviously important question why we're all here? When did you get into arm wrestling? What got you into arm wrestling?
It was kind of a gradual process. I almost feel like I have to go before arm wrestling. Like, in 2018, I did a couple like natural bodybuilding shows, which, again, another thing I went forward through doing and experiencing that really ended up not being for me. But I, through that process, really fell in love with weight training. And I've always been a competitive person. I grew up playing softball, like, pretty competitively. And so, like, I love weight training, and I was thinking about doing another bodybuilding show because it didn't really go as well as I'd hoped. And wasn't really, but also it wasn't, I wasn't exactly for me. So there was like this process of a couple of years of like, I tried getting into CrossFit, and CrossFit kind of led into dabbling with like Olympic lifting and trying to find this competitive outlet that still involved weight training and a way to focus my training to like something competitive. But I never did any of those things competitively, and became aware of arm wrestling. I think a lot of people do now, social media and YouTube, and, you know, it's kind of interesting and fascinating. And I was still kind of thinking I might do a bodybuilding show, but I was like, hey, it can't hurt doing arm wrestling training because, you know, arm wrestlers have great arms. So you want to have great arms, right? And just initially through like Devin Laurent, like a lot of people do, you become like a fan of it. You start devouring the like wall matches and start watching training videos, and you're like, I got this figured out. People just don't know you pull, don't push. Like, I got this. Mm-hmm. So it's probably months of just like kind of adding the training afterwards, after like bodybuilding workouts, and eventually going to see an arm wrestling tournament, but I didn't compete or do anything, just kind of witness it. And I was like, I like the very blue collar, laid back nature of it. It seemed like such a tight knit community, but still was hesitant to get involved. And then it was like another couple months, went to something else, and then actually after pulled a little bit, but didn't really join a team, hadn't had table time. And then it was like a little over a year and a half ago, Brandon Allen, Blanca, you were actually at the tournament. Remember, he held the tournament in Vegas. And I like found out about it a few weeks out and was like, I've been watching videos, I've been training Pro Nation. You know what I mean? Like, I know I could do something. And decided to go only a few weeks out, or maybe a week out. It was pretty short. And had never done like formal table time or joined a team, and just went for it and went to pull that tournament. And I absolutely fell in love with it. You know, I think it's one of those sports that you either absolutely love it or it's kind of alienating. Like I feel like it's kind of hard to be in between with arm wrestling. I think you do it and you're just like, oh my God, I love this. I want to keep doing it. Or it maybe it's not for you, you know? So, or at least that was my experience. I just fell in love with it. I already liked the idea of like actually getting on the table and feeling it. Like I was like it's almost indescribable or incomparable, like that, like rush and elating feeling. I just like the feel of arm wrestling, grinding it out on the table. I fell in love with it.
So that was your first competition, the one in Vegas?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm coming up pretty soon. It will be 2 years. Pretty soon, a couple months. Will be 2 years since then. It did not go well. It's funny. Leading up to the tournament, I was trying to like really look at videos of like setups and starts, because I really was so novice and knew I didn't have any formal like training yet. And at the time, Toddzilla put out a video with Lisa Wolfe about a tournament she had pulled in Vegas, and they're like, we're just gonna go through your matches and tell me like what you felt from each girl, or like what felt good or what didn't. And I'm pretty sure she just dominated the tournament. But I was watching it, she's like, oh, she felt like she knew how to set up, or I felt these pressures, or what she did or didn't feel. I was like, well, this will be good advice for like, you know, what I should or shouldn't do, or how I should like maybe go about things. And of course, in that, you know, you announce people on podcasts and stuff, and they mention, you know, she's a 3-time WAF world champion. So I'm like, geez, 3-time world champion. That's nuts. So when I show up at Vegas, of course, after watching this video like a few days before or whatever, or the week before, she's there. And I'm like, oh my God, there's a 3-time world champion here. Let's go. And I was like, watch, I'll probably get her, because like I just have that kind of luck. And I got her first for left arm and right arm. She's the first person that I ever pulled.
Don't even feel bad. Don't even feel bad. Let me tell you, no.
Like a truck.
Let me tell you that Lisa was my first pro arm wrestler that I pulled in Scottsdale, Arizona, when Travis Bajan and James Reed did their tournament. It was only 3 weeks into where I got interested in arm wrestling, and I got to pull her. It was just me and her, but I came home with lots of money because nobody wanted to pull the pros. And I remember James Reed said, "You want to do it?" I said, "Hell yeah, I want to do it." So you know what? She was my first arm wrestler pro that I pulled with Lisa.
Okay, so we have that in common.
Yeah, we have that in common.
Also, and if you remember that day, one of the reasons I felt so like confident about going and doing it is they weren't sure how many women were going to show up, so they advertised, I think, an amateur and open and weight classes and these things. But as it goes, and we know with women, it's just kind of the nature of it.
Right.
If only so much show up, they combine it all. And now I'm going to that kind of knowing like there's not always as many weight classes or things as you might think. So of course they ask, but you're there, you're signed up, you paid. I think Bill Collins was running it with Brandon. And I think he came up to me and was like, you know, do you still want to pull? It's okay if you don't, or just let me know. And I was like, yeah, I'm here. Let's do it. Okay. Here's nothing. But she was very nice. She was encouraging. She told me which I think she was just being nice. She's like, you feel strong for your size. She's
actually taught us a lot. She's taught us a lot. There was a couple of times where we went out to Vegas and we pulled in Scottsdale, and we would do like after pull like in our hotel and things like that. So we would get a little crazy, but it's amazing. You know, something that I heard from you is that you started before you wanted to get out there. You were watching videos and you were doing all your homework. Let me tell you, that is one of the things that I did from the very beginning. I watched a lot of YouTube. Pauline would send me videos. Wayne Withers would send me videos.
Oh, great.
And so they used to pump me up. They would motivate me. So there's nothing wrong with watching videos. I did a lot of video
of course,
watching.
I still do.
You learn a lot from that. You learn a lot.
And I'll find
from
myself rewatching the same videos later, like
Mhm.
months later, even a year later, and like things that you thought you understood and made sense, you're like, oh, like it makes sense even more. You like thought you learned it, but then like once you arm wrestle
Right.
more, like certain techniques or like counters to certain techniques that you think you understand, like the more time you have in the like knowledge of arm wrestling changes, or like how I find myself rewatching the same things and I'll learn something more later as like I gain more experience in time pulling. So I think it's great. I think it's a benefit for any level you're at.
Yeah.
And you never know like what little nugget, or even just in person after pulling and advice, like it's so great traveling around because someone could see a hole in your game or a potential strength in your game that you don't see because you're always pulling the same people. So like they
Right.
you almost get a rapport with people when you do table time with them a lot. You kind of know like, oh, this person likes going inside, this person likes going outside, or they're practicing
Right.
this, they're working on that. And it's great because you get such a good relationship of like with your teammates that you know what they want and what you want to work on. But sometimes it almost, you almost have an unspoken language of like where you're going to go and what you're going to do and how you like training, and maybe you different training partners you like doing different things with, like this person you just like going all out, this person you like working technique or whatever that is. But the great benefits of that, having that understanding of each other, can also, I think, you lose sight of certain things, or someone is going to have a different perspective if they've never pulled you or done something with you. So I think it's always great to like get out there, pull as many people as possible.
That's the best part. That is the best part. Traveling was one of the things that I did at the very beginning at when I started arm wrestling. That whole year when I first, like I said, 3 weeks into I want to arm wrestle, it was my first round robin. Then I did the first pro. I mean, within 3 months, we had another tournament. I started traveling. That is one of the best experience that I had because I got to feel different hands, different ways, different people. And that is the most exciting part about it, because you don't know how they're going to pull. You're just there to win, and that's all you want to do. But it's nice, it's exciting, and it's one of the best things that I really enjoy. And
I love this community so much. So with that, you're improving your game, you're learning, but you're connecting with people, and it's I know we all want arm wrestling to grow, and I do, and I think all of us as a community are really pushing and trying for that all the time. But there is something really beautiful about this point in time of how niche it is and how welcoming it is, like how you can have access to some of the top pullers in the world to get advice or help or actually pull with them at certain events. Like it's kind of incredible. Like what sport exists that we're like one of the number one people in that sport? Like take basketball or something. Like you're never going to go play one-on-one with like an NBA player. It's just not going to happen.
No.
Like, like you don't have access to people at that level. And I think arm wrestling is growing and is going to keep growing, but I love being in it at this point in time where that's still a thing. And I think there'll always be a tight-knit community within it, but as it grows, you never know how that evolves and how that changes. And I love being in this point in time where we have such access. You can literally usually email or message people, or sometimes in person, pull with them or get advice on training or technique or anything. And everyone's so responsive and open to helping. And it's really cool.
Definitely. Definitely.
I think everyone in this chat is very fortunate to be California arm wrestlers too. For those reasons. We are very densely populated with a lot of top tier arm wrestlers. Yeah. It's not uncommon to be at your first or second practice and to see, a heavy hitter there gripping up with you and giving you some pointers. One of the things that stood out the most to me about you, Bridget, whether it be men's arm wrestling or female arm wrestling, in their first couple years of the sport, you don't see them being as active as you in competition.
I've competed a lot.
Really, really impressive. Yeah, it's such a great way to get experience and, you know, embrace the long road and learn in this sport. Because yeah, those tournaments are just worth so much of their weight in gold, you know.
It's
And
really hard to replicate,
yeah.
no matter what you do, actual tournament bowling in practice. So the only way to really know if what you're doing is working or not, or where you stand, is actually on tournament day and in the moment. It's totally different. It doesn't matter how much you try to replicate it. It's
completely different. Exactly.
Fully 100% replicate it. It's so I think it's invaluable feedback and information. And I think when you're new, there's also mental aspects of either nerves or I don't get it's a form of nerves. It's not so much nerves, fear of how I'm performing. It's overthinking. I overthink.
Yeah, you're an overthinker.
I overthink. Like my brain is somewhere else rather than like go time. Like, just go. Like I'm thinking every little thing of what's happening or what I'm feeling, and I'm missing the actual. Not always, but at points I'm too up here.
And the more you do it, the more you do it, the easier it's going to get. And those nerves later on, you're not even going to think about it. That's one of the reasons why it's very important that we continue practicing, pulling, competing, even if you don't win, you know what, but you're out there and you're keeping yourself busy with that. And since you are kind of like me, I'm an overthinker. There's been many times when I said, why did I do that? I could have done that differently.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And so, yeah, it can get that way. And it usually happens like when you stop pulling for a while, you start kind of like second guessing yourself and then kind of getting back on there. Remember, we talked about that at practice, how, you know, that you could have done so much better because, you know, at practice, you're strong, you're this. But remember, it's like you said, practice is so different versus competing in a tournament. And like I said, the more we get out there, the better it gets.
Yeah, it's definitely part of the reason why I prioritize competing very often so much, because I do believe I can only get better with that experience.
Let's get some perspective on that. What portion of your journey coming into the sport did you have your first tournament? I think I was at your first tournament. Was it the San Diego tournament?
No.
Okay. So I think you were
right. Yeah, it was the Vegas.
You were posting stuff. It was the Vegas one. I kind of went on a rampage when I first started pulling. So I pulled at the Vegas one. It was quick, out. Like, and I was like, okay, maybe I wasn't activating. I was just trying to pull back. I was like, maybe it was too much back and not like, maybe you still need some side, like not just straight back. And like, I was like, I don't know. And some of the pullers there, I think it was some of the Vegas people and there were some Utah girls there too, like Camille and Sarah LaFond, and they were all going to compete at Bob Brown's annual tournament, which is a fantastic tournament. And there's always big after pulling at his barn afterwards, and you never know who's going to show up because Bob's so a part of the community. I feel like just the American community, like everywhere. So people show up from all over the place. Last year, the women's turnout was insane because Gabby came. I believe she's going again this year. So women, awesome turnout. It's in November every year. I think it's the 12th. Don't quote me. It's like mid-month. But so anyway, that was the next weekend after Vegas. And I was like, and I knew some people were going, and I was like, you know what? Let's do it. So I drove to Utah the following weekend to compete at Bob Brown's. And the cool thing about that was he doesn't have amateur and pro, but he does triple elimination. And that's supposed to encourage people that maybe at a lower level, like you're still going to get chances to pull and potentially, you know, by it's not just A side, B side, there's also then a C side. So like by that point, you could be getting into some good matches. And it also makes the tournament go very fast. Corey Miller runs the brackets and it's great. So anyway, I then did that the following weekend. Still didn't do great. I didn't have the experience, but I just loved it. And that I was able to get way more advice and pull more women. And because he has after pulling at the barn, at his house. And so I got a lot more advice and felt a little more, okay, I got a couple nuggets of like kind of understanding. And then I was following Nancy Locke on Instagram, and she posted like a flyer about an amateur, like not really sanctioned, like fun tournament on like a Thursday night at a bar in Petaluma. And of course, Petaluma, like founding of arm wrestling. So I was like, hell yeah, Petaluma. Like, and I was like, is this nuts? Because that was the following week. So I just did 2 tournaments in a row, weekend to weekend. Following week, at that Thursday, it was like the Thursday before Thanksgiving, I went to this amateur thing, and I was like, well, I could just need to get advice from Nancy, and it'll be worth it just for that. So I get there early, and I'm the only one, I think, that was really like gung ho there for this arm wrestling tournament, like drove from far, and I get to pull one-on-one with Nancy before the thing. And then the rest of them, I think some people know, I guess it's like an annual thing they do for fun. So some women do it every year, but they don't arm wrestle outside of that. But then, so they kind of know how to arm wrestle. And then the rest of the women were just like women from the bar. And I won. I got a couple rounds, and I was like, I didn't win the whole thing. There was like a pretty like butch buff girl that took it. But so it was really cool. Like my first arm wrestling win was technically in Petaluma, even though it was much more of like just for fun. Some of the girls were like in costumes, like wrestling costumes. It was like not a sanctioned like serious tournament, but still technically my first arm wrestling win was in Petaluma, which is fun. And then that's the tournament you're thinking about that weekend. So this is like 3-4 tournaments within like a 3-week span. I only consider it 3 because I don't really count the one in Petaluma. It was just more like a fun experience. And getting to pull and train with Nancy. Oh, and she actually ended up inviting me back to her gym the next day, which was Thanksgiving Day, and getting to like try out some of her equipment and train with her one-on-one a little more seriously, because she could tell I was so into it and that I drove from far. And she was really hospitable and really awesome. And what a great way to like start arm wrestling with advice from such an experienced woman. So it was like really cool. And so then I was like, okay, got some one-on-one training with Nancy. I got this, but I trained hard with Nancy. My biceps felt so tore open because she likes going inside and really driving down. So like my biceps were torn open, and I was like, I knew the San Diego tournament was that weekend, so I was like, I'm doing that one, and now I know what I'm doing. I've got, so I'm competing this weekend at full of crap. And I remember my biceps were sore all the days leading up to this. That Thursday night was only a few days before, but luckily the tournament was on Sunday, so I had an extra day of recovery, and I was just doing really light, like 2 pounds, like bicep curls, so just flush blood because my biceps were so torn open. And there was only one other girl in my class, we pulled, they were like, okay, so it's just the 2 of you, like, let's do it as a super match format. And you guys will just do your matches back and forth, and 2 or 3 wins, like the first to 2 or whatever. And we pulled left hand first earlier in the day, and she beat me. And I was like, but it was closer, and I knew it was closer, and I could feel it. And I was like, dang, like, okay, I can do this. Don't get discouraged. Like, right hand's coming later. It was like hours later, and I was like, you can do this. Stay positive. Stay, like, you got this, And we go to pull right, and there's back and forth, and I won the first match, and I'm like, oh, like, this is my first real win, like, in an arm wrestling tournament station, like. And it was so elating, and it was such an incredible feeling, like, okay, like, maybe I do have a spot in the sport, like, maybe I do, because it was like I kept getting smashed at anything I tried to do, and I was just nonstop obsessed, just tournament after tournament, trying to do something, and it just was like, oh, I have a spot in the sport, like, I can do this, I just have to keep at it, and then continue the matches, and I won right-handed, and it was such an incredible elating experience, and my first gold. But it was more so than winning. It was just that all that now competing nonstop for a month essentially, and getting advice from anyone I could, and picking up everything I could. It was like obsession because I just loved it, and that it finally paid off, and I was able to execute something and do it, and just feeling so supported, encouraged by everyone I met and helped me along the way, like, was incredible. It was awesome.
That's awesome.
Did you
my first tournaments.
Did you have
Sorry?
like, practice time with any team or anything before leading up to that month of just your first?
No, I literally going by like videos and advice. I technically pulled a little bit. I went to the I think it was the first King of Cali, where Derek beat Tom and took King of Cali, right? It was there was after polling. I didn't do much and I hadn't polled yet, and I was like really nervous about like I didn't realize like how the community was and that it's so open and like, yeah, let's poll, get on the table. And I ended up polling a little bit with Veronica, and she kind of gave you like very basic little advice, but I don't know if I could even consider it table time. It was just brief, like she spent a little time with me and was trying to explain the top roll. That was it. That was all I had, and just that and videos, tutorials, and just a newfound like love and obsession for it. I just couldn't get enough of it, and just threw myself in the deep end right away, just full force.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And that's it. That's exactly how we should do it, right? If you want it, you have to give your all. And that's the best way of doing it. I mean, just throwing yourself out there and then learning. Veronica knows a lot about arm wrestling. You couldn't have found anybody better, to teach you. She was our team captain for many, many years for Alpha Empire. And she is the top roll queen. She's definitely the top roll queen, but she's also a good hooker.
Yeah, she's so strong, but like really gracious. Yes. Like she's really giving. She's really good with new people, really allowing them to work, letting them figure it out. Very patient. She's very giving on the table with other people. Very giving of making sure they get something out of it, and super encouraging. Like just really, really great. I really love that she's the first person I got on the table with. Like, it's a really fond memory. And I even didn't do much, and I was so nervous, but I felt okay enough to approach her. I think I saw her working with some other seemingly to me newer women on the table. I think might have been out of town, or I'm not really sure. But so seeing that, I was like, okay, like they seem like they're new, like maybe she'll help me out too. And she did. And she was really nice. But that was my limited experience going into those back-to-back tournaments. And that was months before. So there was like this big gap. He's just still trying to like at home do the pronation cupping and supination and just doing my little weight movements and trying to build that up, and watch technique videos, that, like I said, I watched so much then, and then it was like months later rewatching them where they made much more sense. I remember even watching arm wrestling videos early on, and like the commentators talking about like, oh, he's setting up this way, he's doing that. And I'm like, how do they even see this? Like, I'm like, what? How can you tell he's rising? What does that even mean exactly? Like, they're like, how do they see that? Like the refs in the setup, and they're like, oh, he's going for this, and you're like, what? And then start watching it. It's like I'm obsessed. Like I'm always watching every pay-per-view event, and I'm the one sitting there now, like, oh, he's doing this, and he's doing that. And like it's great. It's a solution of when you start watching it, you don't fully understand exactly what's going on, or you understand it conceptually because you figure it out, but you can't see it yet, like just by looking at people arm wrestling. And then once you've arm wrestled so much, it's, I don't know.
Yeah, I remember Gabby told me when she first started, she was a top roller, and then all of a sudden she changed into hooking, and then and she says as the years go by and the longer you pull, then you're gonna find new things. And then now she went back to now she's doing what, top rolling again. She's not hooking anymore because it's all paint on the inside. So we're definitely gonna. So what about you, top roll or hooker?
I'm definitely a top roll. And it's funny going into it, like I so thought I was going to be a hooker, like just trying to feel things out before I even was on a table. I was like, this just feels right. Like, man, that's arm wrestling. And I'm like, and I come from, more traditional, like bodybuilding movements. And I'm like, so it would make sense, like more on muscles. And I'm like, yeah, but I was not the most gifted, in strength naturally. I had to definitely build up in her what I have, but top rolling, once I did understand it, knew how to do it, definitely came very natural to me, and I got a lot of growing power, and so I think going backwards and trying to use the lat as much as I can really made sense. And while I didn't fully understand how to use it, those months of being obsessed and trying to do all these little hand movements, I think gave me not like crazy strong hand, but a stronger hand than as much of a novice as I was. So I think top rolling, fighting for hand control, and going outside really just made sense in a lot of ways. And so yeah, I'm definitely a top roller. I think anyone who's told me knows that. I definitely am always working every position. I want to be versatile. And then even within top rolling, the more you get into it, there's so many nuances and types of top rolling and ways to go about it. So even that, it can be vague in a sense, and you're constantly adjusting based on who your opponent is. And but in practice and in building that up, you always want to work everywhere, build up everything. But in general, you do have that ace you're going to go to on game day that you feel strongest and most comfortable in. And anyone who's pulled me or knows me knows, like, I'm top roller.
You are. You're good in the top roll. The thing that stands out to me the most with you on the table, like when we practice pull and when we do some ready goes together and stuff, is your athleticism. You're definitely a natural athlete, and it wasn't this last practice, but the one before we got a chance to pull together. And I remember we were doing some like ready goes, and you were primarily responding, to very quickly to like me hitting one direction or the other, and I keep trying to get you off guard or something like that. But your athletic response to very micro movements and adjustments is very, very good. So for that reason, I think you could be a good all-around puller. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm definitely trying to build up my strength everywhere. That's just definitely where I'm most comfortable now. And even like Blanca said, that evolves over time. And especially sometimes your injuries shape you too. If something starts hurting or gets injured, you can't go to that place anymore. You end up pulling differently. And then unfortunately, that's pretty common in arm wrestling. It was always something that's a little off or hurt or torn, and you don't want to stop, so you're trying to pull other ways. So that even evolves your style and your strengths over time.
Yeah, remember last practice we were doing wrist to wrist.
Yeah,
we were both injured. I couldn't pull with my left; she couldn't pull with her right. So let's do wrist to wrist. But we're gonna do something.
I really struggled this year. It first started in January when I injured my right wrist, and it was just an ongoing thing, and I tried to pull through it. I competed a couple of times even after I was already feeling it, thinking it was just, you're always kind of sore, hurting in arm wrestling or some way. So I get that like kind of like push through the pain mindset, or like you're fine, or it's nothing, and I never want to feel like I'm like, I don't know, like just definitely have like a kind of like grind through it mindset. It was kind of hard the exact time, like arm wrestling so much, and like Blanca said, I started pulling wrist to wrist for months. I've been the last 2 tournaments I competed, and I only competed left, and in practice pulling wrist to wrist because I didn't want my hand and my wrist is suffering, but I didn't want my arm to weaken, or I just want to do everything I could. So I've recently just started the past 2 weeks or week to start pulling with my right hand and wrist again, which is like, it still doesn't feel quite the same. Still just some injury and give there, but I can finally do it at all. Like, it was so painful. I could not apply any pressure at all, and was starting to heal, and I'm able to use it again. And I'm really hoping I'm not pushing it, but I'm hoping to be pulling both arms at the Kraken at the end of the month in San Diego. That's the goal. So I've been pulling with it. It's going good so far. It just I want to see where it's at. I want to like test it and find out like how it's held up or not, or where I'm at with it. And I'm able to pull in practice now. So I think I'm going to be able to do it. I'll definitely be pulling left 100%. I'm pretty sure I'm going to test the right up there too that day.
Nice. Yeah, we've got ET, the arm wrestling whisperer, is in the chat. He has something to say about your top. Oh, hey, there he is too.
I didn't really think
He says it's not fair. Her top roll is better than mine, and he put a little cry.
He's being too nice again.
No, you had a good top roll. We do have a few people in the chat. Let's just say hi to a few. So
Yeah.
we've got, of course, ET, the arm wrestling whisperers in here. What's up, ET? We got Carlo de Guzman is in the chat. We've got
Carlo.
yeah, I love Carlo, man. You got to come back to practice more. We got to pull.
I
I know,
I
we
haven't
haven't
seen
seen
him
him.
in a while.
Haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah, everybody loves Carlo. He's just like a top-notch person, great arm wrestler. We've got Don Mormon in the chat. What's up, Mr. Don Mormon?
Hey, Don.
Yes, the man, the myth, and the legend. And Don Mormon has a match with Jeffrey Ray this weekend over at Mike McGraw's big barbecue, a little super match series they got going on with a whole mess of
Cool.
matches. Yeah, and we got Benjimac. Benjamin McCabe is in.
He's my
Hey,
twinsy.
Ben.
Benji's
Holding it
my
down.
flopping twinsy.
Nice.
Oh, yeah, Ben's great.
And we do have Rip Slug, Mr. River Welch is in the chat as well. What's up,
Hello.
River?
Hey.
And oh, hey, what's up? We got Todd Calzo in the house too. Yeah, says hello to everybody, asking how we're doing.
Hey,
Thank you.
And we got Paul Stevens is in the chat. What's up, Paul Stevens?
Hey, Paul.
Hey.
Can't wait to see your match with Brandon Allen at the Crack.
Yeah.
It's coming.
Sounds like Bridget's gonna be there.
Yeah.
Malia and I will be there with baby Odette.
Oh, yay.
Yeah,
She's
we'll
so
definitely
precious. Oh my God.
we'll definitely be supporting. If I can talk Malia into competing, we'll pass Odette off like a hot potato and take turns.
Oh my God, that would be awesome.
But I don't know.
Pretty soon she'll been at more arm wrestling.
I know,
arm
she's
wrestling
so
tournaments and practices.
alert. She's like so alert for only 2 weeks old. I'm like, I've seen her like she's just ready to be in the world.
Yeah. I want her to compete at the Kraken too, but I don't think anybody wants that smoke.
They're scared.
Todd Calzo says that Elijah, his son, says hi, but he's too busy with his video games to watch. Prove to me that you're not a part of this generation. Well, get on here, get on YouTube Live and prove it to you. Right.
Talking about the future of arm wrestling, man, Elijah, he's excelling at such a fast rate. Like every practice, I feel him. He's gets stronger, smarter, and he's incredible. He's so committed for his age. I love to see it. I can't wait to see where he goes. He's the future of the sport.
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Him and his dad, Todd, they're just like, I think very just inspirational, like how serious and focused and dedicated they are, like right from the get-go. It's
so great to like seeing that so much in the sport too, where like fathers or parents are so encouraging and supporting of their kids, and it's a really cool sport where you can have generational arm wrestlers like competing at the same event. Like it's really cool to see, and he's so supportive. I really love seeing his his progression, his journey so far, and can't wait to see him get out there and compete.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's really amazing. He has a great dad right there. I agree with everything all you guys said. Todd's awesome, and what he does for his son is just super great. Like, all the dads should be doing that. Yeah.
Be involved for sure.
I literally
don't let him take slack there.
I literally, Todd and I are like the only dads I see that even bring their sons with them to tournaments. You know,
No.
I just wish Evan was a little bit older, because they don't have anybody that's their age. Elijah has nobody his age either. You know?
Yeah, it's definitely tough. It's definitely tough. I can feel their pain sometimes. Like, I mean, we definitely have more women than the youth, but it's definitely sometimes hit or miss trying to, you know, get things matched up. So I can commiserate with them a little bit there.
Yeah.
But,
Right.
Well,
no, it's
you know, Junior did it for that many years. He was always pulling with all the adults, and that's why he got as good as he has been, as he is now. Because
very
Junior
impressive.
had all the 110% from all of us. I mean, I have pictures of him since he was like tiny, at the table with Ronnie, and you know, and that kid just had the passion for arm wrestling. Same thing with, now that he's older, you see him compete against grown men and he beats them. And so it's nice, but the kid has to want it. And one of the things is that it's nice that the parents are there, or the dad is very supportive, but the kid has to want that, and then the dad support it. But if, for example, in our case, Matthew is a natural. He's a natural, strong kid, but he doesn't have the passion for the sport, and we don't force that on him. We want him to say, listen, I want to get on the table and I'm ready. But that kid, you put him on the table, he is strong. And so he trains with his dad at home. You know, our garage, we don't keep cars in there, and they train in there. But I'm just one of those parents that I support my kids in what they choose. I'm not here to choose for them. So
I 100% agree with you. Like, my son, he's 9, he'll be 10 soon. He's been doing it for about 2 years now. In 2 years, only one time he's asked to hang out with his friends and not go to an event or a tournament. And then afterwards, he was kicking himself in the butt. He's like, dang it, I should have went, you know, this and that. But he gets up every day and works out. He comes home from school and works out. Like, he does it on his own. And I agree. Like, if it ever gets to a point where I feel like I have to make Evan do it, then I'm not, you know, enjoying it. He's not enjoying it, but he's the one who makes me want to do it more. You know?
Right. It's motivating.
I've seen you with him out at events and at things. Like, he loves it. Like, I've seen him more passionate, involved sometimes than some of the adult folders around me. Like, he is involved. Like, he definitely loves it. It's great seeing you support him in that and really bringing him with you along. Like, as you're on your own arm wrestling journey, it's so great seeing these supportive parents with their kids. And likewise, Blanca, I think that's great too. Like, you can't force things on your kids just because they're good at something. If they don't love it, like, you gotta love it. Like, you're gonna put time and passion into something, you gotta love it. So and it's open for him. You never know. He's young. Like, maybe one day he'll be more curious about it or be interested in it, or maybe he won't, and that's totally fine. But it's in either way, it's another way you're just being supportive as a parent by encouraging your kids in what they love. And it's really cool to see all versions and types of that. And I've seen so much of that in the arm wrestling community with family, and I just love so much about the arm wrestling community. There's so many things over that family within the family. It's just beautiful to see and be a part of, and the connections everyone has. It's great.
Exactly.
Yeah, the guys up at the arm benders at Mike McGraw's, like, where we're going tomorrow, they literally get pissed off when Evan's not there. They're like, where's he at? Why is he not here? Like, they love him. They love him.
When we were at the B&B for North vs. South, the 2-3 days or whatever that we were there, like my favorite memory was Evan running around the house to every competitor and like interviewing them and also asking like all those like hot questions, like and he like, who wins between this person and this person, you know?
Yeah.
How does the match go down? And the best part was he wasn't like saying, you know, who wins between Devin Larratt and like Levon, or who wins between the, you know, he was asking like, you know, who wins between Don Mormon, you know, and like Lorenzo, or like, you know, he's asking like our local community, like our state, you know,
All the locals.
and he's just on fire. His eyes are big, and he's like
He gets all
trying to like
excited.
keep up with himself while he's like talking about it. I'm like, this kid loves this. He loves
Man,
it.
when we
Incredible. That's
competed,
great.
you know, when we competed the North versus South, that's the very first time in a long time that I took all three of our kids. So they were just like crazy, screaming in the background, and they were so excited to see my match. They said Mom's match was the most exciting one.
Of course it was. Yeah.
It was
super
great.
match.
It was.
I love that.
It was a great match. It was a grinder for sure.
What a good event for them to all be a part of too, because the energy of that room was.
Well, I can't wait for the 30th. If I'm fully healed, it's on. It's on.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'll definitely be there.
We'll be seeing you guys there. Yeah, we'll be seeing you guys there.
Yeah.
Oh,
cool.
Yeah, Paul says, Paul Stevens says his wife Erica will be there as well. That's
awesome.
Looking forward to seeing her.
I'm so glad she got the day off. Tell her I said I'm excited.
All right. Well, you heard it here. And we got
and then dude, check this out. I'm sorry to sidebar, but we have a special guest that's coming up like tonight to be there for tomorrow.
Awesome. Who's the special guest?
the very own Mike Brown.
Mike Brown's coming up?
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
Does he have a match?
I mean, he was asking about people and this and that, but I think he just wants to go and pull people that he's never pulled, and you know, yeah.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of people.
Hopefully, I'm not like exposing his secret. So take this video down.
Too late. Too late. It's all over social media. You're screwed.
Hey, it's too late. But you know what? Like a lot of people are going to be happy. A lot of people. It's that, and it's been happening a lot over the last couple of years, where finally, you know, a little bit more trickling down from the north, coming down and supporting, and vice versa. There's people from the south coming up in there, and it's meshing more than it's being separate, which is like really, really cool.
That is the most exciting part about it. Having from both sides. I mean, remember when we did the north versus south? That was just so exciting. Everybody was just ready for that. It was. I mean, I remember posting it and putting all kinds of Cali songs. I was very excited about it. I'm like, we're having the next one.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah.
No, I can't wait till part 2. That way you can help promote that thing. We can get like a whole ladies, like 5-6 ladies super matches would be awesome.
That would be amazing. I'm sure it will happen.
That would be awesome.
A lot of our girls from Utah, they've been talking about doing a lot of things, so I'm sure that they wouldn't mind joining us. That would be kind of nice too.
Yeah, there's a lot of talent. So women in Utah, really strong, really smart bowlers, just really awesome ladies out there. That'd be very awesome to have them around.
Yeah.
What's up, Lorenzo Munoz is in the chat as well.
Hey, Lorenzo.
Hey, saying some nice stuff. What's up, Lorenzo? One of the nicest people on the sport. Yes. And I'm just so happy we got some people in the chat here, and people are tuning in when I totally botched the link for this and stuff like that. But brand new computer, we're gonna get this solid moving forward. Now what we were just talking about, I for women's arm wrestling to get you know, as many women together as possible, I think Super Match Series is definitely the way to go. I think it's an easier path than tournaments to get as many as possible to show up, because then you're kind of setting them up in advance, and then, you know, women are saying, okay, there's this match, so let you know, and more want to get involved.
I definitely agree, and I've only had one super match, one experience, and it was Damien, who was a part of Alpha Empire, but he now lives in North Carolina, so he set up a super match series there. and TT had a match, so then he gave me a match, and that we were like the one women's match on the card, which was really cool and really exciting to be a part of. I did not win my match, but it was like one of the really great experiences I've had as a woman arm wrestler. It was exciting to do the first one, even if it didn't go my way. And Scarlett, my opponent from Georgia, the state, not the country, she was really, really nice, really gracious, really fun opponent, and we pulled a lot afterwards. And it was just a really good experience. But the biggest thing was, more that day than any other thing I did, I had women coming up after me asking me to pull that they'd never pulled before, that they wanted to try it out, and to give them advice, or even like young girls like, oh, my daughter wants to pull you, will you pull with her, will you get on the table? And like a lot of women approaching me that were new or interested or curious, and it was one, just awesome, because I want to get more women involved. And I believe it was because I had that super match and we had that platform, and we were part of, it was a big event, a really good turnout. Tammy really did such an awesome job. It was really great venue, just ran smoothly. It was awesome. Love to do it again there. It was so much fun. And I think because I think if it was a tournament, I think it could have got lost in the rigmarole of everything. But because it was just super matches and so many people were there to just support or see it, and I'm not sure friends of friends or even just maybe the venue itself had more people there. But I pulled with so many women after that were just curious and new to the sport and wanted to learn more and try it out. And it was just really encouraging. So I don't think you're wrong about that, Kane. I think there's definitely something there with having super matches that highlight and show and include with, a big part of men. So anyone viewing that or experiencing that or getting into that is seeing that women's arm wrestling is a thing, and that it's competitive, and super exciting.
It motivates more women. It motivates more women because let me give you another example. So I don't know if you guys remember, but when we went to do the Mexico versus USA, so they canceled my super match because the girl that was supposed to pull has small children and didn't have no one to watch the children. But last minute, as we were there, she ended up showing up last minute, and then immediately she went and said, "Do you still want the match with me?" And they already had finished the tournament. I said, "Hell yeah, I want the match with you. Let's do it." So then I go over there and I talked to Hector Beltran, is the one that was the promoter, the one that was running the whole thing. And I said, "Hey," I said, "she wants to do it." And then he's like, "Are you sure she wants to do it? Or are you pushing her to do it?" And I was like, "She came to me. Let's do it." He says, "Okay, fine, let's do it." So we did. And of course I took the win. And after that, there was a line of girls that wanted to pull with me. So they were they're asking for my social media. They were asking for my information and things like that. And it was nice. And I got to go on the table with other girls. And it's a good feeling because, I mean, once we were up there, it just got so rowdy and it just got so insane. That's the part that I love. Rather I win or I lose, I just like that excitement that it pumps people up. It motivates women to want to try the sport. And that's exactly what it's about.
And it just feels so tangible, like when you're actually experiencing that, or women are coming up to you curious about it or wanting to, like, really, nothing more than that made me feel like I was really having a positive impact on getting more women involved. So, like, it's just right there. It's like, couldn't be more direct influence. So that's really cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, both of those were super match series. I think the Mexico had a tournament maybe to follow or something too. But I'm really glad you both got to experience that. What a cool feeling it must have been to like influence a bunch of people, have them all want to come up to you and learn, let alone it be on the women's side, because it's a rough thing to do,
Right.
Yeah.
It's rare, not something you see that often. Josh and I were chatting the other day specifically about women's arm wrestling and kids arm wrestling. And it is rough in the tournament environment, because a tournament environment is just kind of an open thing for arm wrestling. Everyone come in, there's brackets, yada yada, and you pay to register your arm or whatever to compete. If it's organically done like that, just open to everybody, obviously still we're at that part of the sport where it's going to be predominantly men, versus the kids and the women. And so
Right.
you don't get enough of a chance it's great when promoters try, but it's hard to give them the chance to truly be highlighted. And that's why I do think super match series are a great opportunity to put the women center stage. But yeah, the other thing we were talking about is both for youth arm wrestling and women's, it needs to be something we need to put together, some cool, like get our heads together and get some good events going that are isolated just for women. Let's do just a women's event, do just a youth event, somehow.
I think that definitely has potential to be great, but unfortunately, like, I do think there are some people that have tried to do that. I know Sarah Collins McKinney out of Texas. Past 3 years, she ran an all women's tournament in Texas, and really cool. Got sponsors, big cash payouts, like bring women together to compete. And unfortunately, I think I just saw on a forum or a group chat somewhere that she's not doing it again this year because she couldn't keep getting the sponsors to back it because the turnout wasn't good enough, which is like really disappointing and really upsetting. So it's I think it could be great. I just don't know what to do to make it work, to really to not run into the same issues, the same problem.
And that was a tournament, right?
Yeah, it was an all women's tournament, and she did quite a few weight classes, in 4 or 5, and cash payouts for each top. I definitely first. I think it might have been first through third. So like, and overall, like, cash payouts for women, all women's tournament. And I'm really actually disappointed because like I really wanted to go. It was the same day as my super match this year. So I was like, well, I'll go to it next year, hopefully. And now I don't think it's happening. So it's a little disappointing. But it's hard. I think she relied a lot on sponsorships and funding, and I think it just she couldn't get the same people on board. She did it for 3 years, I believe, 2 or 3, and a certain level of building something up. You don't always expect the first one to, maybe nail it. Everything has to grow over time, but it's hard. It's tough. I think with any tournament, these aren't big money generators. It's usually out of passion that you're running these events and doing these things. It's it's more people that love arm wrestling and want to put on events than it being a very lucrative business or anything. So it's tough finding that balance, because even if you're passionate about something and want to do something, there's still the reality of funds behind it, unfortunately.
Sure.
Yeah.
We had her on this show to talk about that, and it was I think it's unbelievable, and I totally understand the hardships that came with that. So yeah, that's why, like, one of the Mexico thing, the North versus South, the beautiful kind of back door to that was, yeah, it wasn't everybody super match series. There was men, there was women, that, and putting that force together kind of helps, support the community, kind of supported the event. And just the fact that we had some badass women's super matches. And then you've got both, like, all the men competitors and families and stuff, and women. It was crazy. I'd like to talk to Alan and Tony at some point. The super matches that they've been putting together for the SoCal Arm Fest mega practice, that's really been getting some momentum, and it seems like people are really wanting to get involved with matches for that, and they're getting really good coverage on it too. it would probably have to be at least a couple months in advance, because they already get requests like a month in advance for matches. But it would be cool if one of those was just women's super matches, because it's already it's a backdoor situation. No sponsors are needed. It's at a great venue, and it's a mega practice where everyone congregates once a month. So it's a perfect stage for like 5 really great women's super matches. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the reason I think stuff like that helps is because when you're talking about an individual match regarding a woman, there's promo videos that are made and flyers that are made and things like this that other people can see. And they're like, oh, look at this girl's having a match with so-and-so. I want to go check this out. And then that gives the opportunity for more women to be interested, I think, as opposed to flyers where there's just a small print that says women's class.
Yeah.
You know,
it's like secondary. And it's sometimes even forgotten. I've had to call like promoters before to be like, is there women at this one? Like, because it's not even on there. And it's not their fault. And I don't take it personally. It's just, we are kind of an afterthought at points just because there's so few of us, and it's not the main thing they're catering to. And it's not always, it's not across the board at all. There's tons of promoters that support women. I think actually all of the promoters I've dealt with really do support women. It's just the nature of there not being as many of us as men. It's like a niche within a niche, you know?
I don't think it's the promoter themselves at all. I'm just saying that
I've never interacted with one that wasn't supportive. It's just the nature of it's not highlighted because it's the big driving force of it is men. It's majority of men competing, majority of men interested or fans of it. Like it's a very male driven sport, which is it's fine. It's just the nature of it.
And that's where we come, and we remind them that we exist, and we actually make matches a lot more exciting.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, just like even a little promo video, like let's say for hypothetically that Bridget and Blanca have a match, right? And they make like a little promo video, and it's I'm working hard and I'm coming to get you, showing a little workout, saying a little piece, whatever it is. And then they're on a podcast. There's a little build up. There's different things that happen. And now you have viewers who are just watching, and they're like, "Hey, I want to check this out." I mean, I think it opens the door, at least. I know
even this, I appreciate you guys all so much. Like you guys doing this and doing the Female Fridays. Like I know this is new, and you're trying to build it, but you guys care, and it's really awesome. It's really, as a woman puller, so encouraging, and like, to feel that support and that people genuinely care about our place in the sport and encouraging it and helping it to grow, and not feeling like just because we're few in numbers that it's not just as important or something that the community as a whole cares about. And I really do think they do, because you listen to all different podcasts. It's a topic that comes up a lot of how to really grow women's arm wrestling. It's something you hear, podcasts across everywhere. Any major arm wrestling channel, I've heard the topic time and time again. It's tough, it's everything is to start somewhere. It takes time to build things up. It's not like a one fix answer.
And you know what? One thing though, Bridget, I know that you said you used the word "it's not their fault" about the females, how they put them in very small print. We all have to take responsibility. So basically, that's why we're here. That's why we're spreading the word about arm wrestling. And I've said this many, many times before. In able for this to grow, it's got to be the community has to help. Just like we talked about in practice, we're injured, we're not able to pull. I wasn't able to compete at the UAL 3 days before I was in the hospital. And I just couldn't physically be there. But you know what? I supported it. I shared it. I've sent so many videos and I talked about it. Now I do short videos just to remind people, you can get in there by doing this and that, inform yourself. I mean, there's so many tournaments that are out there, so many promoters that support us. And I support the promoters that support us, that acknowledge us, that know that we're there. We're not just female arm wrestlers, we're arm wrestlers. And that's one of the reasons why we don't necessarily grow, because not everyone shares our strengths, our goals, not every promoter. But you know what? That's why we remind them that we're here and we're training hard just like all the other men are. And we care about the sport just like everyone else. Because you know what? I support not just female arm wrestlers. I support males, young kids, females. We have a small community here in our area that we've been friends for 5, 6, 7 years. And so it's not just about the female, but also just like I support you, I would hope that you would support me. It goes both ways.
Definitely.
And so it's no one's fault, but, we have to remind them that we care about arm wrestling just like the men do. We train hard just like they do. We spend money on supplements, trainers, and gym and tools and everything else, just like males do. So why not be acknowledged like they are? And we're not here to talk bad on anyone. We're here to just remind them, hello, we love the sport too, and we want to be a part of it. Help that grow.
I think we're really lucky too in the Southwest in general. I've seen some things circling around with some women having bad experiences at some tournaments lately, a bit of talk about that. And I think in general, we're really lucky in the Southwest. Bill Collins loves arm wrestling so much. Like, even when he's repping, you can see he still gets excited about every match. And the whole Collins family, like, I've always felt so supported by them and encouraged by them.
Exactly.
Tim Talmadge puts on great stuff all over the West and Southwest, and free women entries, and still the same rewards. He's very supportive and encouraging growing women in the sport. Dave always has the women categories available at all of his tournaments, always has that well announced and supported. And he's even asked me at points for advice of like how I felt during the tournament or how it went, so he's actively pursuing and trying, making a good experience for women. And there's always bumps along the road, and we're all working towards things and trying to do them better and trying to find out what is that thing we can do to positively impact women's place and everyone. And also just growing arm wrestling in general. It's still a niche sport. We want to grow the entire sport of arm wrestling, men, and women, everyone. But I do think we are very fortunate in SoCal and just the whole Southwest in general of having some really great promoters that are genuinely encouraging, not just of women, of everyone, and really care about arm wrestling. And and that comes along with it with a lot of great refs. We have great refs. Can we just talk about that? Like, we have like refs that are like WAF world refs and are repping at East vs. West and King of the Table. Like, we're so fortunate, like, within this small area to have like these elite level refs. And everyone has their moments of calls and things in the heat of the moment. There's always things like that in arm wrestling, where there's so many calls and technical things they're looking at all the time. But in general, like, we're in a really good place with the promoters and the refs and the community we have here. I feel very fortunate.
Yeah. You know what? Now that we're talking about promoters and all that, I just remembered, did you qualify for the finals for the tournament for Greg Sharp, or no?
No.
Compete?
I couldn't make that one, and I was still really dabbling with injuries, and I've competed as Kate pointed out, quite a lot the past couple years. I couldn't do that one.
You couldn't do that one. I just remember that because they're going to have the finals in November in San Diego. So that's one of the next tournaments as well, besides the 30th. Go ahead.
And like I said, I think I don't know if it lines up, or it might be 1 week before, 1 week after. I definitely plan on going to Bob Brown's tournament in Utah, which I think
Oh,
I think it
okay.
might be 1 week after, 1 week before, which is not impossible. And I have done back-to-back tournaments, but in general, especially dealing with injuries and things, it's and just kind of embracing the recovery that is needed sometimes.
Yeah.
I
Wait,
think it turns out okay, because I do really want to go to that one.
that
Mhm.
one is, you're saying a week from Kraken?
November. They usually do it in
Uh,
November.
Okay.
From the finals, from the Greg Sharps,
From the final for
the
the great
World
Mhm.
Series of
World
Arm
Series, yeah.
Wrestling, Garage to Fitness. The actual name of it's the World Series of Arm Wrestling, right? I think so.
World Series of Arm Wrestling,
I
and
think it might be. It's the first weekend in November, right? I think.
it's the very first weekend of November that they're having it.
Yeah. So
They're doing the
Bob
finals
the
in
Bob
San Diego.
Brown's tournament doesn't immediately conflict. It's the following weekend. It's the
Okay.
12th, I believe, is the date. Whatever that second weekend is, I think it's the 12th.
Mhm.
Is the Bob Brown tournament. So you could definitely do both. I just wasn't in a place to compete at the qualifiers, and
Right.
I'm not too disappointed about it, just because I am planning on doing that one next week, which sometimes is fine, but sometimes can be rough doing them back to back.
Yeah.
Odette was being born like the same week that
It
of Arm Wrestling.
was
So we
was
missed it
supposed to
together.
be.
But so anybody that qualified for that, good luck to them. And it's
Yes.
like an amazing tournament. But everyone keeps painting a really good picture about Bob Brown's event out there. So
Yeah.
I think we might make a point to get out there and check it out.
There were 18 women, I think, at the one last year. So, and I think he didn't announce weight classes. I think he split it based on entries, and I believe he split it into 3 weight classes. I think like somewhere around 135, 140, maybe 20 pounds more than that, and then like over that. I don't remember, but I believe it was because Gabby, he really pushed and showed Gabby was coming out, and I believe I've seen on social media that she's going again this year. So I really hope we get an awesome turnout again, because that was by far the biggest turnout, 18 women competing. It was really awesome to be a part of. And there were so many beasts there. Gabby, obviously considered GOAT of female arm wrestling. And you had Angie Rose was there. Leerin was there. Just a bunch of really strong women. And it was so impressive. And like, it just
Wasn't
like,
that
so,
where Tamara Mitz went to that one, didn't she? Tamara Mitz, was she there as well?
no, she wasn't, but Michelle Smart came out of
Michelle
like
Smart. Okay.
she hadn't competed in a while. I don't know why it made me think of her, and I don't know if that's who you meant, but because I know her and Tamara Mitz had like a battle, I think, in like old school UAL matches. Like
yeah, I think that the best battle that I saw in live, in person, that was the very first tournament that I went to. We went to this tournament,
really? That's
the
so cool.
WAL, but she went against Devin Larat's wife, Michelle Smart.
Okay.
If you pull that YouTube video, oh my gosh, it was the longest match ever. It was amazing. It was amazing. I mean, I got to see a lot of amazing matches where there were some strong girls there for the WAL. Yeah. It was at a club in North Hollywood. And that's when I said, I want to arm wrestle. So this was on a Saturday. So the next day, Sunday, we went to practice with Derek. And I said, I want to arm wrestle.
That's great. That's fantastic.
That's what created this monster.
Well, wait, let me jump back to the chat here. Let's see. Wait, stay on page. Oh, darn it. Let me see. Channel content. Discard changes. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Just about the tournament. So many people came out. And also Sarah McKinney came out from Texas. And so did Elizabeth Mosek, who just competed East vs. West. She was there. Daniel Evanson came, she's from another part of the country. So like literally some of the strongest women from all over the country came out. Like it was fully loaded. So I really hope we get a similar turnout this year. That would be so awesome. Like I said, Gabby's going to be there, and he does triple elimination. So it was triple elimination with that many women. So you got a full lot. It was really great. Anyway.
That's awesome.
Okay, so we had let's see, there we go. Well, shoot, now I can't get back to it. Yeah, we had a couple interesting chats. Let me see if I can bounce back to it. Yeah, we have a question for you, Blanca, from ET, and we had some great points from Lorenzo. Get back. Okay, here we go. Okay, so Lorenzo was talking about, some of the struggles with, throwing the women's tournaments and sponsors and such like that. He says, thinking business, the money has to come from somewhere. Fundraising, then giving that money away is one way, so you don't have to ask for money. I think that and that could be very interesting, because there are a lot of organizations in general that really like to push and empower women in general, and women in sports, and even youth women or youth girls. There's like a lot of things like that are very supportive and wanting to encourage women in general in sports in general, not even just specifically on wrestling. So there's probably definitely routes to go down, and just taking the time of reaching out to people and seeing who would be interested in doing that. So there's definitely something there for sure.
Yeah. I remember talking to Lori Cole about that about 2 years ago. And I actually thought about looking into some companies and seeking for sponsorship for different events. But then, then I got sick with DVT, and a lot of things I have a lot of setbacks, and I just couldn't throw one more thing on me, And so I kind of like put that on hold as well.
Yeah. And a lot of that's just time, I'm sure you reach out to enough people, there is the right company or person out there, just finding them. It's just probably really a time consumed and commitment to someone doing that, making that happen.
Right.
Yeah, Lorenzo says, if you do get a sponsorship or donations, we need a big social media presence or appeal to the individual place that is giving the funds. I really like that point as well. Just and it kind of draws back as well to what Blanca, you said about women being more entertaining, and what Josh said about women kind of blowing up their social media side and building that hype. Because like when you do post pre-match stuff or your matches, they do get good engagement. They are more entertaining than a lot of the stuff that men are putting out there.
I think because it's not the expected thing. Like, I know before I got into arm wrestling, and a lot of people have this idea of like arm wrestling, like fucking truckers, like going at it, you know what I mean? Or or like a biker bar or something, So I think you think of women, and it's not that the modern day age, like strong women are embraced, women in sports are embraced, like think about like CrossFit women or like power, like it's not like taboo or strange or like unfamiliar now. Like there are strong women in sports, but there's something so niche about arm wrestling. It's already a thing that some people aren't aware is an organized sport. Like, so for some people, even just for men, they're like, what? This is a thing? Like refs and medals and leagues and levels, like pro and amateur, like they don't even know it's like an organized thing. So sometimes that's already entertaining. Then you take that and put it with women, which is also the fact that we're like such a niche thing is intriguing to people. Like even, I think there are even women arm wrestling that can get just general public and even men into arm wrestling, because it stops you in your tracks. It like gets your attention. So I think the fact that it does well on social media, even with non-arm wrestlers, because they're just kind of intrigued and like, what is this? Like, and there's a certain nature, the element of like the contrast of women doing it, and then maybe having this idea in their head of what arm wrestling is, like guys going at it in bars or something, like because everyone knows that guy that like arm wrestle at a bar. Like some people, like that's their backstory of like how they got into arm wrestling. Like they were good and were undefeated in like college or with people at the bar. They just would challenge anyone. And like some people, that's like how they found competitive arm wrestling. They're just good at it.
Right. That's how Ronnie started. That's how Ronnie started. He was that guy at the bar that would beat everyone.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He met the real pros.
Well, there are some, there's promoters out there that don't recognize any of those things, and yeah, they might dismiss or not maybe do enough for the women's side. And I say, sucks for them, because in my opinion, and I've said this a lot, I think women's arm wrestling is good for the men's side too. Like it's good for the whole sport. It builds the sport a whole lot more. And I think it's because of like, the stigma that's behind it. So it's not just, the wives at home or whatever that haven't tried it, that are thinking, oh, this is such a brute, like ignorant sport or whatever. And it's just, there's no technique or whatever. It's just about who's like tougher or something. Well, a good portion of the men population believe that too. They believe it's a stupid sport. And I believe it's through showing these amazing women who could be, tiny like y'all and take down a dude, who looks pretty tough, that doesn't know how to arm wrestle, especially too.
Every once in a while.
Yeah, it's awesome. But that shows you a whole other side of the sport, the technique, the passion, the athleticism, and that there's definitely a lot more going on there than meets the eye.
Right.
So yeah, I
mean, and that's a very cool thing in general about arm wrestling is there's certain strengths, whether it's tendon strength or bone loss, there's certain things you build up that are not always as visually present as like, powerlifter or bodybuilder where the muscle is just packed on it. See it, like there's something very cool and unique about arm wrestling that you can look very unassuming sometimes and be a total powerhouse or have some sort of connection or strength that isn't always super visual, that is like super impressive. And I think that is also an interesting way that I think the average person can be intrigued or drawn into it, because like you said, you're like, your wife, it's a great example. She's like this mighty, like she's this petite, friendly, like nice. I don't know. I love Leah, and like she'll get on the table. She's fucking fierce. Like she's ready to go at it. That contrast is awesome, and it's I don't know. I think that it appeals to a lot of people, whether they're into arm wrestling or not, and or especially like there's certain guys that don't always appear as much, and then they get on the table and they just are halting, or like you said, especially when you compare it to maybe people that don't know about arm wrestling as much, but maybe have more muscle or have more physical stature, that they just don't have strength in the right places. They don't know how to use it or how to access it. And it's something very fascinating and unique, I think, to arm wrestling in a lot of ways, which is cool.
Some mysterious mojo going on in this sport for
mysterious
sure.
Mojo.
So and I see like to me that bug that you can't really explain. I feel like a lot of that exists at a practice, where you spend like 2 to 4, maybe 5 hours just grinding with several different people, right? Because at a competition, it's different. It becomes a little bit more about the competition. It's very different. It goes quick. You're very serious minded. It's a different monster. But I feel like to experience true arm wrestling and what makes it different and special, you experience that at a really good practice with a lot of people. If you're a part of the human species, a kid, a woman, a man, we are biologically built to connect with other humans, and touch and all that has a lot to do with it too. Energy has a lot to do with it. So when you, and we all know that, like, if anybody that is an athlete and goes out and runs or lift weights, you get high from that, you know, your endorphins go nuts. So you're taking these things and you're combining all of these aspects together, where your, you know, your endorphins, your workout is definitely, like, for me, it's heightened more than any gym training if I'm at a table. But then connecting energy with that other person at the same time, you know, and like you said, Bridget's stronger in different places, and you're just kind of like, it's a very weird, bizarre experience. There's
definitely an exchange of energy. There's definitely, it's very personal. You're very up close on the table, hands interlocked. It's definitely like I don't know how to put it in words, but I definitely agree. I know exactly what you're saying is like this exchange on the table. That is, and especially like within that, you do have this community and these teammates and that you're constantly working with. It's another way arm wrestling is very unique, that it's combative and it's one-on-one, and it's always just you on competition day. You're the one up there. You're responsible for how well you prepared, how well it goes, how well you execute. It's you. It's one-on-one. You're the one you're relying on. You're the one who has to execute. And the combative, but then isolated to just the table and just arm wrestling, as opposed to like traditional combative sports. So it's isolating that, but then you can, and it does exist where you just have one training partner, like one sparring partner, but in general, it's big teams, it's groups. You're constantly learning and pulling lots of people, and most people agree it's good to have that variety of pulling different people, because you're going to pull a lot of different people on the table. So it's like this one-on-one thing, and it's very much relying on yourself, but so much is still put into that team and having that group of people you pull and practice with and grow with. So it's a really cool, unique, I think that's another unique thing about arm wrestling. It's very much yourself doing it and executing tournament day, but you have such this communal, connected thing with your family of arm wrestlers, if you will, that are growing as a team. And I don't know. I guess that's it.
For sure.
It is true. It is true. There's some, sometimes there's people at practice that won't pull certain people. And so not everybody pulls everybody, and that should be respected. And that is one of the things that I do respect. Ronnie's been pulling for many, many years, and not everybody wants to practice with him, and it's okay. Same with me. I don't always practice with everyone. And when I'm at practice, I focus on technique, what I need to work on. And I usually pick and choose certain people that I train with, because I'm there to learn and I'm there to get better. I'm not there to compete with anyone. I'm not there to prove that I can beat that person. I'm not there to injure myself. I'm literally there to learn, to get stronger, and to work on what I'm lacking at.
Right.
And so that's what practice is for me.
It's like a professional pursuit. Yeah.
Exactly. You won't ever see me get crazy at practice at all. Yeah.
It's definitely hard to sometimes, when we're all competitive and it's exciting and adrenaline and like, so like I understand both ways and both sides of it, but it's definitely a personal thing. Like, it's up to you to dictate how your practice goes and what you get out of it. Like, the only person who can dictate what you do and execute and what you work on is yourself, and you just and communicating that with whoever you're training with. So I think there's a lot of ways people go about training and how they want to go about it to improve themselves. And there are people that take it more seriously, and there's others that it is more of a hobby and an outlet and a release. So they're definitely going to go about their training differently based on what it means to them and what their goals are and what their
that's just me in general, though. That's just the way I train, because I don't just train arm wrestling. I do other sports, and I am the same way. When I do sparring, when I do striking, when I don't give my 110%. Not put me in a ring match with someone, I'm not going to do what I'm doing at sparring. That's just me. That's the way I am, though. In any practice, I'm going to train with the person that I feel that's going to give a benefit to my training. I'm not going to train with someone that I'm going to have to teach that person, because I'm there to get better, and so that's just the way I train. That's just the way I am. I mean, my coach has told me, why didn't you show me all that when I had my first match in Muay Thai? And so he was like, why didn't you do that at practice? Well, how come I don't get to see that? Because we're practicing. It's practice for me. But put me in a ring match, give me a match with a person, I'm not going to be that same person that I'm doing at sparring time or practice time, or when we're doing, that's a completely different thing for me. So arm wrestling is the same way for me. So everyone has their way of training. And I'm very particular on who I train with and how long I train on practice.
Okay, because ET actually had a question related to that. First, I just want to make sure and close out what the point Lorenzo wanted to make with the women's arm wrestling. That being said, it's hard, not impossible, he says, but
I agree. Definitely
hard to promote women without exploiting them in some way. I could see some truth to that.
I did. I've seen some strange things with women at points where it went down a very kind of weird path.
Right. I know exactly what you're talking about, and of course they probably got like massive views and stuff like that. He says,
probably.
I think now we have women competitors who have made names for themselves in the sport, and you see like Gabby Vasconcelos. She's the GOAT in women's arm wrestling right now, and been for a while, and she's not having to resort to any of those gimmicks or exploit herself in any way. And she's still, I mean, she has a good social media following, but she said it herself on the show. She's like, it doesn't seem to do much for me and everything like that. It's a freaking shame, because you're the GOAT. You were the GOAT. And so that's, really good points, Lorenzo. But before I get too sidetracked again, ET, the arm wrestling whisperer, has a question for you, Blanca. Did you train just working out stuff with Jake Smith or fighting as well? I'm not sure if I worded that right, but I think the second part explains it. If so, does some of the discipline in that come through to help you mentally and physically in arm wrestling tournaments? So I think what he's asking is, like the work that you do with Jake Smith and Muay Thai, has that, been related, transitioned into?
So the answer to your question is, I at the very beginning, when I first started training with Jake Smith, I started training only arm wrestling. It was only arm wrestling training. I was literally just in a separate room, and he would just write on a bulletin, this is what you're going to do, and I want you to do it this many times. And so everything was arm wrestling related, with the hand grips, a lot of push-ups, pull-ups, a lot of static holds. So at the very beginning, the first year was only arm wrestling training. Remember, I've been training with Jake for almost going on 3 years now. Okay. Recently, I have not trained with him anymore. I do not train with Jake Smith anymore. I've had a lot of medical problems, and my work, my family, and everything else just got a little too much for me to have to drive that many miles, and then I wasn't focused on my health anymore. I was just pushing myself to the extreme. So the answer is, when I first started training with him, it was all arm wrestling related. It had nothing to do with his sport. And then just little by little, I started doing more of what they were doing. And next thing you know, I was sparring and and I had a match. So it definitely helped me for both. For the mental and also physical. My core has never been the best since I started training with him. Wow. He's an amazing coach. He's very disciplined. And I really loved the way he trained, because it was about what I was there for. I wanted to see results, and I got exactly what I was looking for, results. I've learned a lot. I've learned more than anything, discipline, consistency. It did make it, I would say it made a big difference. And that has to do with arm wrestling and in general, in everything. So the answer is yes to everything he asked. So it started with arm wrestling, and then I ended up doing more than arm wrestling, but we were still focusing on getting that core strong, getting that bicep strong, getting that wrist strong. And it was all discipline, mental, and everything else. So if I can go back, and I would redo it all over again. And although I don't train with him anymore, but I do continue to train what he taught me. I also have a private trainer now, and I am still going to continue the same sport. And who knows, maybe in the future I'll end up in one of his fights with one of his girls. You never know. So yeah, so I'm still training it. And I just recently started jiu-jitsu, so I'm doing that once a week.
Okay.
Cool.
Well, I hope all the health side, really comes together for you. And I'm glad you're taking some you time to make sure that, you can do all these great things.
Yeah.
And
I definitely enjoy doing all that. And I would never sit there and do nothing. Even if my arm is falling down, I'm losing my left arm, but my right still works. So you'll just see me arm wrestling.
There you go.
So yeah.
Yeah, ET says this podcast is getting him and Bridget through traffic right now. Mitch, where are you both in the world right now, Bridget?
I think we're still in Arizona. I've been so consumed in the podcast. I don't know where are we exactly. EG has no idea either, because he's listening to good thing it's just a straight shot on the 10 the whole way, so we can only get so lost.
He's just driving.
like literally, it's like if you take the southern route, it's pretty much the 10 until you hit the panhandle of Florida, which we're nowhere near, so we're good. We can't be too lost. I think we're still in Arizona though. We wanted to be further along, but it's sometimes it's tough navigating all the stuff when you're traveling and doing things. Everything takes longer than you think it's going to take.
So you're cut to Florida, huh?
Yeah.
Are you gonna hop on over to the parallel famous Route 66 for some of the route? Taking a few.
Probably not. Probably not on this one. We're hoping to do a lot more traveling the next coming year, so we'll probably get some good road tripping in. But this one we're kind of going fast, just getting over there. Yeah, but you still see so much more every time you drive instead of fly. Regardless of what route you're taking, it's still much more of an experience. You still take in so much more of the country when you drive that way. So, so cool. I like road trips.
Me too.
Yeah.
I love road trips. Except I always do the driving.
If you guys do go to the Bob Brown thing, that's Utah?
Utah.
Yeah.
It's not. It's he has a bar there in Midvale. It's called Cheers to You. It's south of Salt Lake City. It's not Salt Lake City proper, but it's part of the surrounding area. It's south of Salt Lake City. It's a really good time. So it's you just never know who's going to show up. I feel like he always gets good competition, and then after pulling, I think he has something like 7-8 tables in the barn, and everyone's fired up and pulling all night long. And there's always a lot of really seasoned pullers, and really, Bob Brown himself too, so knowledgeable. If anyone out there watching, if you don't watch Bob Brown stuff, like, he's got so much great stuff on technique and really breaks things down in a really knowledgeable and digestible way, like to the minutia of movements and counter movements and technique and training. He's got great stuff. So he's the one running it. And then Utah in general, it's a lot of really strong, really knowledgeable pullers there. It's just great. And people come from all over. It's a good time.
I think that's when we went there when we competed for the Arnold's qualifiers.
Okay, cool.
I think that's where he did the Arnold qualifiers.
Yeah, I think he used to be an Arnold's qualifier. I think when he switched it to the triple elimination because it didn't follow their format, I believe that's why he's no longer a qualifier.
He's no longer doing. I think we went to the last one. And I got to pull what's her name? Well, I got to pull Erin like always.
Yeah. And Erin was there last year. She's so sweet.
Yeah. So I pulled Erin, and it was when she took a break off right after when she pulled Worlds. So she has taken some time off and she wasn't pulling for a while. So we got to go first. And then is it Jolene Anderson?
Jolene is incredible. She's been arm wrestling since she was so young, and she's such a smart, strong puller. She was really encouraging when I started too, and just in general, she's really great.
Yeah, she was pretty amazing. We got to pull afterwards. And then what's her name? Last name Hope. I can't remember her first name. Linnea, is it Linnea Hope?
I know who you're talking about, but I don't think I've met her personally, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
but I
got to pull all of them, so you can only imagine they are so strong. And so we didn't have enough girls for one weight class, so we just kind of pulled all of us, and they're all so strong though, extremely strong.
Yeah, and I feel like there's this whole newer, not new, they've all been pulling for I think a few years now. But Haley Johnson, Sarah LaFawn won her weight class at IFA Worlds last year. So that's incredible. That's awesome. And Megan, she's Cody Merritt's niece, and she's so encouraged. She's really nice. She's really friendly and really encouraging of the sport, and just so strong, and so smart. I think she's been pulling less time than me, and she's just doing incredible.
Doesn't she do the strongman type of pull?
No, that's Camille, and then also Camille.
Camille, that's right. Okay.
She's so strong. She's like a world record strict curl.
Yeah, we got to pull with Camille. We got to pull with Camille last practice. She's
she was at the SoCal one. Yeah, I was in Denver. Yeah. She'd asked me about it in the past, so I'm really glad she got to make it out.
She made it to one of our videos. So yeah.
Yeah, Camille's really great. She's so nice. She's such a positive force in the sport, and just in general in life. She's fantastic, and she's so strong, and I don't know, I got no complaints. All the women in Utah, they're strong and really nice, and just they got a great community of women arm wrestlers up there. It's really awesome.
Yeah.
If y'all road trip out there for the Bob Brown thing, let us know. We'll we'll probably be doing the road trip, and we'll maybe rock the same route and stops here.
Yeah, it's a pretty direct highway. Is it the 5 whatever goes north out of Vegas there? It's kind of it's a main route, one route the whole way, and there's a pretty mountainous pass, which I think is kind of sort of the back end of
it is a long road. I remember it took me 11 hours to get there.
Yeah, it's up there. It's not
or even more than that. I remember.
I like it. You go through a lot of farmland and mountains.
It was very interesting.
Snow-capped mountains. It's beautiful. Yeah. I like to drive.
It was a nice road.
It's far for a lot of people.
Yeah. When we went, it was icy and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
It
it'll be
was so
cold.
nice though.
Maybe
Mhm.
up into 2 days. Some people can be fine before a tournament power driving for 11 hours, but if there's a good halfway spot, like you said, passing through the mountains or something like that, go camping, drive 5 hours for one day and then go out
Yeah.
another day.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went to a tournament. We went to Utah State in February, and we unintentionally stopped halfway because we got caught in a snowstorm. We ended up in I don't remember the town. Cedar City. That's where Camille and there's a few arm wrestlers that live there. But we ended up staying the night at just a hotel off the side of the highway, because it started snowing so heavily. Like, we thought we were gonna make it all the way there, and I went, I think we gotta call it. So we unintentionally have done that and stopped halfway. Luckily, we left a day early, just cause I think, like you said, sometimes you want to do that big drive the day before, but we were going to do it in one shot, but we did it on Thursday, thankfully. So we stayed the night, finished on Friday, and we're good to go.
Yeah. I did a straight shot. I was like, we're out of here. I'm not stopping anywhere.
Wow. Yeah, so Todd Calzo says, great show, guys, and us a blessed evening. Him and Don Mormon had to cut and said it's been a great show. It has been a great show.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
We are a little past 9, so there's one thing that we're wanting to start doing before each show, and this is being recorded, so we'll be able to clip some of this stuff. We want to do fast hit with you.
Okay. So this is just a quick response, right?
Yes, rapid fire questions. So let me pull up my copy here. I don't know if you all got yours. Blanca, do you want to fire questions at her too? Or
I don't. So no, you know what? I'm gonna have to skip mine because I couldn't access what you sent me. And so I can only see you three. That's it. I can't even change my screen or anything. It won't let me.
Okay.
I'll listen to you guys.
Yeah. Fire them at you pretty quick here. It's going to be the first thing that comes to your mind. Okay, Bridget?
Okay.
All right. So I'll start out with number 1. Josh, you can take next one and we'll just rotate back.
Oh, I don't have the list.
Okay, you're not fast enough for the fast hit, Josh.
I know.
Look in your text in a screenshot.
I'm looking. Wait a minute.
Oh, because you're live on your phone, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, next time I'll send them to you in the chat. I could do that right now, I guess. Might take a minute.
Okay, go ahead.
You got it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I gotta hold on. Okay. All right. Is fast hit with Bridget Lindsey Morris. And here we go. Funniest arm wrestler.
Funniest arm wrestler. I don't know. This is not fast at all. I'm already bombing.
You already went blank.
Well, right now you're the funniest arm wrestler.
I was gonna say that.
How about I just say Johnny Dang from our team because he's cracking me up.
Good answer.
Do you skip leg day?
I didn't early on in my arm wrestling career, but it's definitely been neglected lately.
Gives leg day.
Oh, you arm wrestler then. Hook or top roll?
Top roll.
Favorite food?
Why is that so hard? Steak.
Books or movies?
Movies.
Strap or no strap?
Strap.
Okay. Hot or cold weather?
Hot. I don't like to be cold.
Fighting in the setup or grip and rip?
Fighting in the setup.
I was gonna say that.
Thing.
Never fight for what you want, right?
People learn sometimes you got to fight to get what you need. We've got thing. Oh wait, no. Let's see. We've got favorite place that you've traveled to.
It's so hard because you enjoy different things for different reasons, but I had a pretty magical trip to Sedona early this year, so I'm going to say Sedona right now.
Yes.
Breakfast or dinner?
Breakfast.
Bodybuilding.
Maybe just because I want French toast right now.
Okay. All right, bodybuilding or powerlifting?
Bodybuilding.
Road trip or fly? I think we know the answer to that.
Road trip.
We cheated on that one.
Table time or gym?
Table time. I love
Dogs or
wrestling.
cat?
Dogs. I love animals in general, all animals, but want dogs.
Bicep curls or wrist curls?
That's actually harder than I would think, but biceps are fun.
So
If you could live anywhere, where would it be?
Oh, that's hard. Lately in my life, not a specific place, but like I'm feeling like mountainous woods in my future. Like I've done beaches, I've done desert. I think the next place has got to be, maybe the woods, something like that.
Cool. In the setup, load or no load?
Load. Let's get ready.
Favorite band or musical artist?
Elliott Smith.
That's some deep stuff. All right.
All I like is that song.
Okay. Let's see. We got a favorite female arm wrestler.
Favorite female arm wrestler. Obviously, like Gabby always comes right to mind because she's the GOAT and she's so nice. Like if you've interacted with her in person, like she's like a sweetheart. Like the Iron Angel nickname is so perfect because strong as iron, but sweet as an angel. But like, there's so many. Angie Rose is also like right there, comes to mind because she's so inspirational and she's still so strong and just killing it. Like she's goals for sure. And also lately, what is her name that Mosik just faced? And I've been following her for a while. Carolina, is it Peterson from Sweden? She just not just smashed that match, she just smashed WAF. And I believe she's in my weight class that I would if I competed right now. And she made it look easy. If you go see, and that was a competitive class of women, she smashed WAF and made it look easy. Rolling girls taking their wrist. It was really awesome to watch. It's definitely very inspiring. And also like I think some of that is like she's pulling similar to how I pull and is in the weight class I'm in. It's like a really tangible, inspiring person. So right now,
I actually shared all her videos. Her all of her wins were shared in all in one. She did an amazing job.
Yeah, it was really impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Favorite arm wrestling event?
That I've been to, or that like watching, or what do you mean?
I get. How about both? How about your favorite that you've been to and your favorite watching?
Well, East versus West takes the cake. Engen is a madman. He's a masterful matchmaker, and we don't deserve him. I mean, we do, and we want more. But he's incredible. Every I'm always excited for East versus West cards. And I mean, there's so many matches and so many good ones. It's always exciting. And then experiencing, I think I kind of went into that earlier with that. I think the North Carolina Super Match Series, JV ran in North Carolina, was just a really memorable, fun, special experience. And also, I gotta say pull hook press from Dave Depew. That was where I first got my win, and it's very sentimental to me for a lot of reasons. That one will always be really special to me. I hope to make it continually.
Okay, well, there's one more question, and it's the question that everyone wants to know. Who do you arm wrestle next?
Who do I arm wrestle next? It might be Blanca. No, I mean it might be. We're both going to the Kraken.
I knew it. It's all good. I'm ready whenever you're ready, baby.
It's just because I know you're going to be there. Whoever shows up to the Kraken, I mean, that's the next goal. I feel like we've been building up the SoCal or just California in general women's scene quite a bit lately. There's been more and more faces, more and more people showing up. So it's exciting to know that when I go to the tournament, like there's going to be competition there, and it's really exciting. And I think, especially in the lighter class, I mean, we're generally split 154 under and over. And that 154 under, I think we're all pretty close. Like it's really good competition. There's been back and forths of wins and losses with a lot of the polar, so it's really exciting to have that competition, and that there are quite a few matches that can go both ways, I think. And I mean, I think it's still perhaps a bit of an underdog, but I believe in myself. So we shall see. And I hope, and also I really don't know where my right is. I'm hoping it's good enough to pull, but yeah, I guess whoever's at the Kraken, that'll be next.
Very nice.
And we pull very similar too. We're always dead centered.
So yeah, it's always exciting. I mean, yeah, you always want to be dominant and execute well and do well, but grinders are where it's at. It's exciting to have to work for and earn it, or where it's close, because that's where it matters. That's where there's stakes. If you're well above or well below someone, it doesn't feel like much. It's one, you know, it's done. So many arm wrestling matches are really fast, but when it's close and it becomes a real match and a push and pull, a give and take, like that's exciting. I love that. I mean, I know you don't want that in competition because you want to blow yourself out or be exhausted, but I love it. If I can get in a match, that's where it's at. Those are the best memories. Those are the
most exciting ones. Those are the most exciting ones, because you know what? Bridget and I pull very similar, like Tara. So we all pull very similar, and every time we pull, we kind of go a little crazy because we know that, you know, we're like she said, we always have those long matches, and those are the best ones. So yeah.
So it's really fun to see the competition of women growing in Southern California, and it's exciting that there are, you know, some matches and some women that it could go either way. So it's exciting.
Right. I'm excited too.
Yeah, women of California and beyond. If you want to, again, Lindsey Morris, you need to crack in September.
Huh? I lost you there in a minute.
That's the place. Come test yourself. All the women out. Men competitors, bring your wives, bring your sister. And you mentioned you were interested in possibly a forest environment. Yeah, came to mind because you said you also like hot weather. You definitely wouldn't want to be up near me because half the year you'd be so cold. But
it's weird. It's like I can deal with cold if I know, but in general, like I do much better in the warm than the cold. I don't like being cold, but like I don't know. I can embrace the cold if I'm ready for it.
Yeah, that's all it is up here, is just being prepared for it and having that nice fire and your warm clothes and all that. But the backside of this mountain is pretty rad. It's definitely desert meets forest, and it just becomes more high desert the lower you go. But there's a lot of cool spots in the back end of this mountain that don't get much snow, if any, but it's just full pine trees and open homestead property and stuff like that.
Cool, very cool. I mean, definitely. I don't know if big moves near in my future. I want to do a lot of traveling coming up next few years, but definitely down the line, definitely something I could see myself doing for sure.
Well, I'm gonna keep selling it. Put you guys closer.
All right.
All right. Well, is there anything else that we want to add before we call it an evening?
I think it's great.
I think we've done a lot of damage already.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I just thank you guys so much for having me. It was an awesome experience.
Thank you. It was nice having you. It was
Likewise,
fun.
yeah.
It was nice seeing you guys
Sorry, I
here.
was in and out while you guys are doing this.
Yeah, no
we're
worries.
used to that. We're used to it.
All right, guys. I'm gonna head out of here, back to the journey across the
All right.
country.
You guys drive
Thanks so
safe
much.
and have a great rest of your trip.
Pleasure.
Thank you,
Thanks,
thank
guys.
you. Oh,
Thanks.
I don't know. I might have exited out already. All right, bye, guys.
Bye.